at that.
Yeah. Okay, so to begin
Yellow
this,
folks. Yeah.
we're the 40/40 men. But one thing I'm going to start with is my Dr. Nick my Dr. Oz impersonation. Hi,
Doctor.
everybody.
No, that's Dr. Nick. That's Dr. Nick.
It's also Dr. Oz because Dr. Oz is Dr. Nick.
Uh-oh.
Terrible human being they are. Not as bad of a human being as Herschel Walker is,
Oh,
but
good
pretty
Lord.
bad. Herschel
Yeah.
Walker may literally be the worst human being on the planet, who's not
Oh, yeah.
named Lauren Boebert.
Oh no. He's not the worst. He's up there, but there's a lot of those Southern Republicans that can actually.
Did you see what he did during his debate with Raphael Warnock? Okay, first of all,
No.
Raphael Warnock is okay. So they're going in for the Georgia Senate race, right?
Yeah.
Raphael Warnock is a pastor,
and he'll win because he's a football player and he played for the Georgia Bulldogs.
Well,
That's literally he'll win.
Raphael Warnock is a pastor who is preaching in the same church as Martin Luther King Jr. used to preach.
Yeah.
Okay. Herschel Walker is a deadbeat dad. Okay. So during the debate, Warnock brought up the point that Herschel Walker keeps telling people that he works with the police and he's a deputy and all this other stuff. And he's like, and Warnock said, he goes, I don't go around telling people I'm a fake cop. And what does Walker do? He pulls out a toy police badge and says, no, I works with the police all the time. And then the moderator's like, Mr. Walker, you are not allowed to have any props. And he's arguing. And she's like, Mr. Walker, we have told you in the past, you knew the rules. Like talking to him like he was in the 4th grade or something like that. And he wouldn't stop like bitching about how he was being. He may literally be the dumbest person who may get elected to any official office in the world, in the history of the world. Right after Lauren Boebert and her hoary butt. She's a whore. I don't know if that's swearing or not. So, Mark, let me know. But she's a
27.
whore. Yeah.
I'm running on like an hour and a half sleep, so I thought I was going to be the first one to drop an F-bomb or something.
Well, at least you still got a Jays cap on. I've already switched to my Raptors cap.
Yeah, that's all right. No, it's a Jays toque. It's a Jays toque. Yeah, no, there's it's a little actual right now the sun's out, but it was a little colder, so this is the Jays toque. I usually wear it in like sort of the hipster style and have that little flop back, but gotta sport the colors.
Yeah, I gotta get some. I come downtown. Man, I'm trying to negate all the sunlight coming in through here because I got this new little area to work in, and it's just washing me out and making me look really, really pasty.
And you should wear some blue, accentuate your eyes.
It's true. My first girlfriend I ever had, she told me the same thing. She said, "Oh, I like you because of your blue eyes, and blue looks good on you. You should wear blue." So I've worn blue a lot in my time. I wear blue all the time on this podcast, say for Canada Day, which I wore red, and the day that the Jays were eliminated, which I wore black. Mm-hmm. So for those of you who think I look good in blue, thanks.
Well, I figure one thing we actually kind of have to sort of mention is let's have a quick little chat about the quick little game that Houston and Seattle played yesterday.
Both games or just the one game? Because 18 innings of nothing.
Six. Well, it was. That's the thing is they said it was the longest ever 0-0 score, and 6 hours, almost 6.5 hours. But it's the first postseason to be. It's also the first postseason game to be scoreless through 15 plus innings as well. That's just crazy. And I would feel bad for Seattle generally if they didn't, beat us down like last week. Because generally I'd be like, oh, poor Seattle. But right now I'm just like, yeah, okay, screw you, Seattle.
One guy was flipping out when the loss came down. He was saying online that this is terrible. That how could Seattle? Seattle shouldn't have won anyway because they have no big stars that they can look forward to using in the future, and they're just a one and done kind of team.
Essentially the rookie of the year they've literally got the rookie of the year,
and they've got one of the best starting rotations in baseball.
Yeah, but I mean, like having no stars to look forward to in the future. What do you think the rookie of the year?
Yeah,
like that's literally what that award talks about. It's like this guy's going to be,
Yeah, and wait till Jesse Winker has a better season than he did this year because he had an off year, but he's going to come back. Eugenio Suarez swatted 30 home runs. They've got a killer bullpen. I mean, their second baseman, Adam Frazier, was kind of meh. J.P. Crawford at short was kind of meh. Ty France killed it in first base for a long time, but he kind of trailed off at the end. Yeah. But he's still
Jared Kelenic is going to be awesome as well. Like he's going to be.
Yeah. I have a very funny feeling though that they're going to trade him because we got Winker in left, you've got Rodriguez in center, and you've got Mitch Haniger in right field. And I don't think they're going to get rid of Mitch Haniger because he's been like such a long-standing member of the team. I don't see any scenario where they get rid of him.
He will play until he's like 45.
Yeah. So Kelenic, I mean, he got sent down a few times this year, and he was batting like 100. He never got any better. I mean, he got a couple hits and got some stuff during the postseason, which is great. I mean, but everybody at some point is going to hit something if they're in the major leagues. They're not there to hit zero unless you're Bradley Zimmer. Oh, funny side.
Bradley Zimmer or Josh Tolley.
Bradley Zimmer now is still in line to get a World Series ring.
From the Dodgers,
from the Phillies,
because
remember Bradley got we
oh shit
there
it is. You know what I
that's the first one you've done ever.
I fully forgot we waived him. They picked him up for like a second and then waived him again. Yeah,
and he did play a few games. He got a few hits for him. And then we picked him back up and they waived him again. So technically, if the way baseball works is anybody who played on a team, if the team wins the World Series, they generally get a ring. So Bradley Zimmer, our worst player, is going to possibly, I mean, I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think Philly has the pitching to do it. But if they did, he could technically be the only Blue Jay.
Well, Philly shouldn't have won their first two series. like that's, so who knows?
This is what I like about baseball in general, because you never know what's going to happen. Like, I don't want the best teams winning in the postseason all the time. That's boring. Like, people like Cinderella stories, at least. And now we got 3. Like, honestly, I never thought Philly would make it because their defense is terrible.
With a 4th on the way. I always have a soft spot for Philly. Like we did play them in the 93 World Series and I was like, whatever. But I always have a soft spot for Philly because they took care of Halladay for us, like when he went somewhere, he went to a spot where they really liked him and they were all on board. So, I mean, like, one of my favorite Jays, so I've always had a soft spot for Philly and it's kind of tough though.
They were just built weird. This is the thing. Like they just their defense has improved. Like guys who were really crappy last, like Alec Baum has actually improved at third base, so that's good. Yeah. The shortstops improved. Like they've improved their defensive metrics a little bit. And, Kyle Schwarber could always field. He just strikes out all the time. He's like the platinum version of Joey Gallo, basically, is what Kyle Schwarber is.
Yeah, and what's crazy is like the contract that Bryce Harper signed, and he's supposed to go over there and light it up, and he's literally disappeared. Bryce Harper disappeared. He got a couple on that one, but I mean, like think of what you're usually heard of him, and then what's happened in the last 2 years. Like
he got MVP last year.
Was it last year?
Or the year before? Anyway,
that's what he does. He'll do like one awesome year, one bad year, one awesome year, one bad year. But he was the man in Washington. But he's not really Philly doesn't have a stud. Philly's got a bunch of guys. Like I think that's probably Philly's.
They got a lot of good hitting. That's the thing. They really picked up on the hitting. Unfortunately, pitching and defense usually wins. So if they actually win, they go against what people generally think wins games, right? Okay, so I'm going to pull up Bryce Harper.
What generally wins games? A $500 million player in Juan Soto. Money.
Yeah, so this was Bryce Harper this year. 370 at bats because he was injured a lot. OPS plus of 145, which is bigger than his career average of 142. He slugged 514. His on base was 364. He had 11 stolen bases. He hit 286, 18 home runs, 106 hits, 2.5 WAR. So he was for a guy who played 2/3 of the not too bad. He's a 7-time All-Star, 2-time MVP, Rookie of the Year, Home Run Derby champ, and a 2-time Silver Slugger Award winner.
And that's the crazy thing. Here's
it's his birthday today.
Hey, happy birthday, Bryce.
He was born October 16th, 1992.
Oh my God.
How old does that make you feel? Because 1992, that's the Jays' first World Series.
First World Series.
That we remember. Yep.
Yeah, but here's a crazy stat. When they were talking about Aaron Judge hitting 62, they were saying other players in the other players that are other young players as well that could actually have an outside shot at something like this. They mentioned Vladdy, and then they said Vladdy had was close to hitting 50, and they said Bryce Harper, he's hit 50, hasn't he? No, he's never hit 50 home runs in a season.
He's hit
Mike Trout.
Most he's hit is 42.
Yeah, Mike Trout never hit 50 in a season, and like when you think of these guys, you think, oh yeah, but that's the thing is but they're consistently 40 some odd home runs over that span, but they never.
Well, hitting 50 home runs in general is just an accomplishment unto itself. It doesn't happen very often, right?
But it's one of these guys that you're mentioning. You feel that they're like that they've done it for some reason. Like I don't know, everyone's it's almost like that. As you say, the Mandela effect. Like you have it in the back of your mind. Oh yeah, Harper's hit 50.
Well, here's Harper's. Yeah. So Harper was the MVP last year.
It was I just checked that. I thought it was 2020.
So he led the league in doubles. He had 100 walks, which is pretty good. A 615 slugging and a 429 on base percentage. So his OPS for the season was 1.044, which is ridiculous. And his OPS plus was 179, which is second to his ultimate one, which is when he won the MVP in 2015, when his OPS plus was 198. And his OPS was 1.109. Like that's a crazy. His age 22 season is ridiculous. He walked 120. Listen, okay, these stats are incredible. I didn't realize how good it was. I never really looked into it. So 153 games.
But that's the thing is like he it seems like he disappears. You know what I mean? Like it seems like
42 home runs,
fades into the
99 RBIs, 6 stolen bases, 124 walks, 131 strikeouts, a 330 batting average. So his batting, and then the next year he went down to 243. You're right. So we'll look at batting average alone. Yeah. 2015, 330. Then go year by year. It was 243, then 319, then 249, then 260, 268, then 309, and 286. So he is up and down. But this just goes to prove that all players are not going to have outstanding seasons every season. People complaining about Guerrero, for example. He had a great season in general. Yeah. But it wasn't up to his standards, just like Harper this year wasn't necessarily up to his standards. But I mean, it still makes him one of the top 5 first basemen in baseball. You know, so
but that's the thing is you finished the season August 1st. Bo had a terrible season.
Yeah,
and the tail end of August and then September, he had a better month and a half than the entire rest of the season.
Like 54, 55 hits in September. That's literally a quarter of all of his hits of the season.
There was a 2-week span where he was batting over 500.
Yeah. And that's the thing. And since baseball's a game of ups and downs and ebbs and flows, that's the way it goes. So people who complain about players halfway through a season just don't know. Like you want to complain at the end of the season, feel free to complain at the end of the season. Yeah. But don't get all over these guys for something they did for 1 or 2 weeks. Like, everybody thought the Yankees were going to be unbeatable, and then they're beatable. It's just instantaneously.
That's why you were mentioning. That's why we play the game, because there was that little session that I had in my little pro line woes for like 3 days straight, because I consistently picked him like, okay, well, the Dodgers lost to Pittsburgh. There's no way they're going to lose this again. The Dodgers lost to Pittsburgh twice. There's no way they're going to lose a third time. And they lost it there. Like Pittsburgh, who was at that time in second last place, beats a like how what is the Dodgers payroll? It's over 300 million.
Yeah.
Like yeah, it's and
And the run differential,
Pittsburgh's
we
payroll is
talked about the
probably
run
like
differential was like 300, right?
yeah, and
320 or
Pittsburgh's
something.
payroll was like $70, $70, and it wasn't even American. It was $70 Canadian. Yeah, like that's it.
But when you're a professional, anybody can beat anybody at any given time. Like
Yeah.
you're not an automatic everything every single day. It just doesn't work that way.
Well, that's like just when you're saying when you're a professional. I don't know if you remember a few years back in college football, Alabama was pretty kick-ass, and everyone's going, "Oh, well, I bet you if you played Alabama against like the Jets or Cleveland, they would beat them." No. Do you know why the Jets or Cleveland at the time when they sucked would beat them? Because what the Jets and Cleveland have is the best of every single college player on whatever
Exactly.
team combined with them, whereas Alabama has pretty much guys that are really really good, but there's a lot of guys on the team that are they're on a scholarship that are never going to do anything other than play college ball.
Well, the thing with football too is, and it's one of those games where that's one of those games where every week you expect the player to play to a certain level,
Yeah,
right? Because you're only doing it once a week. Like you expect
yeah,
Josh Allen to throw 400 yards, 3 touchdowns, right?
yeah,
Or you expect the best running back. Like I don't know much of the player. I haven't watched NFL in a long time. I just haven't. But I'm kind of paying attention to Buffalo now because I always was a Buffalo fan. And now that they're actually
yeah,
have a team that can win it all, I'm like a little more invested. But generally, the guys who are really good will be really good week in and week out. They will have the occasional stinker, but
yeah,
over the course of 18 games, that stinker might be one, maybe
yeah,
2 games, right? You
yeah,
might have, instead of epic, they could have like a pretty good game, but not as good as they're capable of, like a Vladdy
yeah.
Guerrero thing. Actually, the one thing I keep going back to the Guerrero thing. The one thing that still gets me with the Jays this year is we never had one guy hit 100 RBIs, not one.
we
And I
had we
find that
had
outstanding. We had
we
two.
and
Vladdy had 97, and I think Bo had 96, something like that. Like we were close, and we
we had
tried.
4 or 5 guys. We had 5 guys over 20 home runs. We
Yeah,
had 5 guys over 20 home runs, but no 100 RBIs. Well, no,
no,
that goes to show you why. Like that's actually why we didn't win. That's actually why we didn't beat Seattle, because we had
yeah.
guys in scoring position and would hit into a double play, hit into like strikeout, pop up, whatever. Because we had a guy on second, guy on third, and could not bring him home, and that was our
So that,
problem
that
all year. That was our problem
now
all
that,
year.
that goes to okay. So what do we fix for next year? Well, this playoff is proving, and Jeff Blair was actually talking about this, and he
Yeah.
said he was proven wrong too, that we just did not have a bullpen that was built for the playoffs. We just
Oh
didn't.
no. Oh God no.
So the bullpens, like, so you got to think of our priorities now. We got to think about who we can keep and who we get rid of, who we extend and who we don't.
I
And
think we keep Mesa, even though he had a awful inning against
yeah, but I
Seattle.
mean, yeah, but that's the
He
thing. All the guys we had great seasons, but they had a bad inning or whatever.
yeah,
But we
and
do
and
need
he
the
might
swing
have
and
come
miss
back
stuff.
a little early too. He might have come back a little early because he came back in like what 2 weeks
Yeah,
after a separated shoulder.
yeah, he
So
shouldn't. He shouldn't have been in like, and that's the thing. Even at that point, like he shouldn't have been that option. He shouldn't. It shouldn't be like because in the depth chart in the bullpen, he's 5 or 6.
mhm.
So
Yeah,
why would you put your 5 or 6 depth guy in at that point
like
when you're
right away.
trying to
Yeah,
preserve? It just didn't make any sense, and they paid for it, and then it just cascaded down there. So I mean, I like all
mhm.
the arms we have, but they're all veterans, which is
Yeah.
great. But
So
you need,
we're keeping Pop. We're keeping Pop.
yeah. Well, we've got
Like
we've got Pop
we
for like 7 years or something like that
yeah.
now.
But he's 25.
Mm,
He's 25, and
yeah.
he's a Canadian as well. So, and it's always like it's always
Who knows
a little
the back end of our
cooler when you
rotation, like the 8 and 9, could end up being 2 Canadians, Pop and
Mississauga boys. Yeah,
Romero.
both from Mississauga.
No, no,
Yeah.
Romano's from Markham.
I thought it was Mississauga. Yeah,
No, I
but
know the Mississauga
it's
guys because I'm Mississauga. The other Mississaugian who's in the system is Desai Brown in the minors, the really really fast guy, like the fastest guy
okay.
in minor league baseball, basically. Who actually started to hit a bit this year, which is good. They were hoping he would start hitting because he can field and he can run, but his hitting was a little suspect, and he's actually started to hit better.
He's actually starting to
But
hit.
we can mention this now. Like next week, when you want to tune into the 40-40 men, we are going to do a little bit of a breakdown of 5 players each who we think are important to the forward momentum of the franchise.
Yeah,
So, for example, I would say Ricky, Tiedemann, just somebody easy. If Tiedemann takes a step, what players are going to take a step forward to make the team better?
Yeah.
Ricky Tiedemann is
And
one of those.
and we can't mention Gabriel Moreno because his step forward is literally major league.
Yeah.
Like
that again goes to what happens with the team. Are they going to keep which catcher goes? Because one of them's going to go. Yeah, it's an
well, here let's keep people on pins and needles for a second. We'll do a little commercial break quick.
Cool.
Boom, boom, Shillow. Let's do a beer commercial. This is a beer commercial. No, there's not going to be classic rock and a ridiculous cottage by the lake with girls in bikinis trying to sell you schlock beer. Come on, Jeff, yell out an 80s tune. There is a girl, however, who is the brewmaster, and she makes killer beers and a small independent brewery out of the south end of the nation's capital and certified kosher beers as well. You'll find an incredible lineup of session ales, Vienna lagers, stouts, sours, pales, IPAs, English ales, and definitely not run-of-the-mill stuff as well. My personal favorite is the Belgian beer soda. So they don't need to throw around the idea that your summer will be awesome if you drink their beer. They just make great beer. But if you do have an amazing cottage by the lake with jet skis and 80s rock, possibly Kim Mitchell, might as well go for a soda, playing in the background, it cannot hurt to drink Shillow beer too. Visit shillowbeer.com.
I was trying to think of some other ones for like other Canadian ones. I was trying to think of like 13 Engines or The Pursuit of Happiness or something like that. Because I'm all about popping up those Canadian anything.
Oh yeah. Oh dude, like if you want some 80s, throw in some Triumph,
Yeah. Was Loverboy Canadian? No, they weren't Canadian.
Oh yeah, they were. Yeah, they were based out of Calgary, but did all their stuff out of Vancouver, so they considered themselves. Come on, Mike Reno with the headband. Oh yeah, man.
Yeah,
totally Canadian.
Unfortunately, I never did like all that music.
Ah, I loved it. I mean, my brother.
I would have rather listened to like I was all about 13 Engines, The Watchmen, and people like that. Like I liked my alternative Canadian music that came around late 80s, early 90s. The Odds, that's another good one. Very highly
underrated. Weren't they just odds? There was no the.
No, was it? Really?
I thought it was,
Odds. Yeah, I have to look that up now too. I love
kind of like the same debate as like Family Guy or The Family Guy. It's just Family Guy. Yeah.
Let's see.
Well, you are.
You know what? You are right. You are right. They are just odds. Although when you see their videos listed, people still put the odds because it's.
Yeah.
I think it's to even on the when Google says that people also ask, where is the lead? Yeah. Where is the band The Odds from? Who is the lead singer of The Odds? But you're right. Everything else is odds. So Odds band on Twitter, Odds on Spotify, The Odds on Apple. Like no one really seems to know.
It's kind of like all the different variations of our name we had for quite some time as well, and then now over the last couple of weeks,
their genre
just narrowed it down.
The genre is listed as, I swear this is true, alternative rock, power pop, post punk, alternative indie, hip hop rap. That's what they've listed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different genres for Odds, which is. They are not hip hop rap unless they've done something recently or in their later albums, like the later albums of like 1996. But the best song, they're 2 good songs. "Eat My Brain," that was a great song, and "Heterosexual Man." That's all.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that one. Yeah.
Heterosexual Man. Oh, anyway.
Well, okay, so you were mentioning. Yeah,
they should do like they always have the fan fest stuff, but they always play like country music stars and stuff.
Well, because the Jays would always have like that sort of cowboy theme out on the front, right? Yeah. And they would do it, so they would get like a local Canadian. But I mean, like if you get like, I mean, the amount of bands that just exist in Toronto is mind blowing, and the amount of famous bands that are coming out of Toronto as well.
Like December 8th with my buddy Steve. You know, I'm going to go see at the Horseshoe on December the 8th.
No.
5440.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. I have I don't mind them, but I have a hate on for Ocean Pearl. I never used to hate that song.
Really?
But well, that's the thing is I never used to hate it, but if you drive a car in anywhere in the GTA, like 4 or 5 times a day, you will hear that. And when I'm a delivery guy,
Yeah.
I hear
that album
Ocean
in
Pearl.
general, Smiling Buddha Cabaret is a great album. I do like that song, but yeah, it's weird how they do play when they play older Canadian bands. They always choose like one song for that
One
older
song.
Canadian band to play.
They play
And
two
it's
songs
really
by the Headstones all the time. They play two songs by 5440 all the time.
yeah,
They,
it's weird, and I don't know. I don't really understand why. It's like that. That to me, that's just lazy programming. Like at least
totally.
CFNY for a long time before they went all corporate and crappy used to program so well that you would never hear the same song twice in like 8 or 9 hours.
Yeah,
But like the
but
joke
all the stations do have to have CanCon. Like you have to have
they
a
do,
certain amount of Canadian content, but
and
you don't
that's
have
what I
to have
mean.
the same freaking song. It doesn't
Yeah,
have to be the same
like
song. Yeah.
it's funny when I was in the States and when I was driving, I had a job driving through the States. One of the funny things about radio was because I was driving in '96, where my buddy and I would have like a big one of those big old CD cover like cases of like 30 CDs to bring in the car, and we would be driving and every 4 hours on American radio, you would hear the exact same songs in the exact same order. Every 4 hours. It's how they programmed it. And it was annoying. And even the DJs were like, okay, here we go again. Here's Alanis Morissette. Or here's Cake. Because those are the big names at the time.
What they needed is a guy from 1978 in a velour kind of fuzzy shirt, tight Jordache jeans, and feathered hair from San Antonio. Actually, no, wasn't he? Was he from San Antonio or was he from New Mexico? Named Andy Travis, programming the music from the rockin' powerhouse of WKRP in Cincinnati for
Yeah.
every station in North America.
Johnny Sunshine or Johnny Moonlight or
Dr. Johnny Fever, Johnny Caravella. Yeah,
but that was actually his real name, right? It was Caravella.
Caravella was the real name. Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to make sure. Okay, so back to the J
Baseball.
stuff. So
Yeah.
So we've got to obviously need to make changes. There's a lot of people crapping all over Atkins again. I don't get it. I understand people's frustration with losing. I understand we didn't have a perfect team, but nobody has a goddamn perfect team. We just don't. We had a team that was built on offense, on like elite offense and average to above average pitching, like above average
And
starting and average bullpen, and that's what we had.
And the offense sort of failed us. Yeah.
Exactly. The offense never really clicked all year. Like it's weird because you look at the stats, we were number one in everything. OPS, average, all that stuff. But we weren't scoring runs. It's like you said earlier, because we weren't hitting with runners in scoring position, that kind of stuff. So to me, I don't really lay blame so much on the bullpen as I more lay blame. Because I mean, the bullpen ERA was like, I think they were like ninth. They're 13th in Major League Baseball, which means they're in the top half of the American League in their earned run average. If you want to go by that
or just randomly had all the top in the American League and the bottom in the National League, we would have been in the bottom half of the American League. But with Atlanta and LA in there's no way they're putting that in.
Like honestly, looking back, Richards came back after a horrible beginning to the season. Trevor Richards did fine. Adam Simber started falling off at the end because they used him too much. He was used more than any reliever in baseball. And I'm sorry, but that side-arming, like slow stuff is great. But if you show it half the games you're doing, then it's less effective. I would rather see a Nate. Another thing I've been reading apparently is going forward, Nate Pearson will not be a starter. They're not going to stretch him.
Really?
They're not going to develop him as a starter. They're going to just let him pitch. Let him do what he does and come in as like a multi-inning, high-leverage reliever. Like that's what they're planning on. Because I think the reason the bullpen faltered this year is because two things happened. Pearson got hurt. Well, not really hurt. He got mono and then just knocked him on his butt for like months.
But that can happen.
And then
a friend of mine,
Merriweather.
His brother was drafted by the Boston Bruins and got mono because he used to play for the Niagara Falls Thunder back when they used to have everything, and that derailed his NHL career. Yeah, and mono can do that, man.
So they were anticipating Merriweather taking a step up, like pitching like he did at the beginning of last season, and Nate Pearson coming in and pitching the way he did at the end of last season. And they thought, well, there's our two high leverage, like our high velocity arms. That'll be complemented by Jimmy Garcia, Richards, Simber, Romano, like Meza. That's what they planned. That's what, and it just didn't go to plan. And the problem that got exposed is our lack of ability to develop pitching in our system, and we have a really big problem with that, and it's becoming worse and worse. Like Ricky Tiedemann and Alec Manoah are great,
we've had that problem forever, though. Like we've had that problem forever. Like once in a while we get a gem, but we've had that problem forever. Because think of how many guys we've let go that we know could have been good or whatever, and they ended up on another team and have won Cy Youngs, have pitched perfect games, have done this.
Well, this goes to something else I was reading today. And I don't know if you agree. I'm starting to more agree with this line of thinking than I used to. Is Pete Walker as good a pitching coach as he's made out to be? Every time to go back to the day, he saved Hap, he developed Hap and Estrada. That's what they always go back to, is he developed these so-so arms and do better than average starters. But Marcus Stroman's ERA never dropped to 4. One guy was accusing him of destroying Aaron Sanchez's career, basically, because Aaron Sanchez was never the same after he was here.
One of the things with Sanchez, though, Sanchez continually, I remember he continually argued about the seams in the ball being changed and stuff, and said that was one of the things that really affected his throwing mechanics.
His blisters.
And he had blisters.
Yeah, and that's the other is part of it too. We've heard the baseball has been changing. You see pitchers, especially this last year, throwing balls back when they get it from the umpire, like right away, going like, no. All right, I guess, sure. It's like when it's like anything, they get into the bottom of the pile, like because they got a guy who was hired to rub down the balls. That's his job. Like, what are you? I'm a ball rubber.
Do I have to bleep that one or no? I don't know.
I'm a baseball rubber, and you got to figure for an hour or an hour and a half of rubbing baseballs, they're not all going to be the same. They're all going to be a little bit different. So now what they're talking about, I think we touched on this before, is they're talking about creating a ball that has some tact to it, that has a little bit of stickiness to it. So that
because then it will actually contact the bat, so it'll increase hits or pop-ups.
Well, not just that, but it'll make the ball more consistent. Because that's been the biggest complaint the last couple of years is baseball's been trying everything they can to change the ball so they can change the way baseball is played again. Because they want to go back to more stolen bases and sacrifices, and there's more of a small ball idea. And they say that's why they've been trying to deaden the balls, that home runs don't mean as much, or if you hit it really hard, you're not necessarily going to get that home run, and it's just going to develop the game more into the speed aspect, which I think people are looking to get, which I have no problem with.
I have no problem with it as well, but it's just kind of funny because they consistently say how the baseball is, whenever they talk about something that what's the best way to put this? Like if there's any kind of throwing record or any kind of thing, they always use it with the baseball because they say the baseball is the most uniform thing that there is. But now the fact that every season they've changed something about it. Some seasons they actually have 2 to 3 styles of balls in play, so you can actually play in one game.
When Aaron Judge was approaching, they were tossing out other balls and throwing in like marked balls for Aaron Judge's home runs that he had, right?
Yeah,
and the pitchers were saying the balls were different.
Yeah, signed balls.
Yeah, but they were also a little bit, because I guess you're making those later, so you're not getting them from the first batches. So they said the balls were different.
But that's another. Sorry, go ahead.
No,
go ahead. Yeah, I was going to say one of the things that okay, paper, rock, scissors.
This is what happens when we're not in the studio together. That's the only thing. But no, go ahead. I'm going to.
Okay, so my thing on that is I have a feeling that was more from a value point of view, right? Because if they altered the ball a slight bit and had the autograph on it, the amount of people that you can probably get that can fake Aaron Judge's signature, but if it's just on like a regular baseball as opposed to like one that actually
Yeah.
has like some kind of a specific weight aspect to it. So then that way you can sort of suss out which one is the valuable ball and which one is just the imposter. So that, I think that was the main reason for that. But also maybe just to jack a ball so that we could see 62 or 63 or 64, right? So
Well, for me, the biggest thing right now is ever since Major League Baseball took over the making of the ball is when these problems started happening.
yeah,
There wasn't. You can't have the league doing it. You need a third party, like they've always had with Rawlings, and just like I think they bought Rawlings or something like that, and started doing their own baseballs. And that's you can't because then you're tweaking too much, and you think it's just you're too involved. If you got a one party off the side just making here's your baseball, do with it what you will. That's how it should be. You shouldn't be relying on yourselves to make your own stuff. Like, there's going to be problems because they're going to start, okay, well, this is happening. We want this guy to do all right. Well, look how he's doing this year. So maybe we should start focusing on making balls that he's going to be able to hit better because it's all about them. It's all about marketing because they're still the worst major sport at marketing their players. They're terrible at it. Like, at least even the NHL, who's not the greatest at it, at least they still have like Tim Hortons. I saw that ad the other day with Nate McKinnon and Sidney Crosby for the Tim Hortons hockey cards, right? Just little things like that. Or you'll see.
I do have to mention one failure of the NHL. The NHL is trying to build their brand globally, so they actually have a game. They had one of their first their first regular season game in Prague, and they said,
that's right,
Prague, the Czech Republic. No, it's actually called Czechia now. They've changed the name. So way to try and grow your brand and call it.
When did they? Because I didn't even know that. When did they do that? I didn't know they changed their name.
2 years ago. 2 years ago. Yeah, but it's one of those ones that I accidentally tripped and fell upon. Right, I didn't know.
I saw it one day. I'm like, what's it called? Really? Yeah. I didn't know that. But you've got to look into you've got to do research in general. And that's the thing.
The sport that's the best at marketing. Like, just look at basketball, because basketball isn't even just basketball is a lifestyle. Like,
even European
it's literally
like good.
Yeah. Oh, you can't even touch that. But in North America, basketball is like a lifestyle. Like, and there's 50 things if you mention basketball that come to mind instantaneously. But you mention baseball, and a lot of things to think of are old.
Yeah.
It's cool. Well, I like it.
I mean, the issue is because when you get a bigger team, it's hard to make it about a certain player, right? At least in basketball, 12 players, you're basically relying on more or less 4 or 5 dudes.
More or less, yeah.
Right? And the really good teams, you're relying on maybe 7 or 8, the deepest teams that are going to win. But then you get things like happening like with Golden State between Draymond Green and Jordan Poole. That was, man, that was a shot.
Well, no, but you had that.
Jesus.
You had that in Philadelphia. Like we were just mentioning Bryce Harper. Was it Philadelphia or was it Washington? Him and Papelbon. That was Washington. Yeah. And literally choking, throwing bombs at each other. I mean, the Jays have had 2 fights in the dugout. Who was it? Henkin. Why can't I remember? It was Pat Henkin. And who was the manager? It was Gibbons. Henkin and Gibbons. And that was like,
yeah. Wasn't also Gibbons and Hildebrand when Hildebrand was being.
I mean, Hildebrand was an idiot though. Shea Hildebrand was a douchebag.
He was he was probably still is a douchebag, just like these other.
He was a failure of steroids because he was on PEDs and it didn't help him.
Like, I want to know what it is with a lot of these getting rich players, and it happens with all the rich people in the States. Why Democrats, when you're a player, turn into crazy Republicans when they're retired, like Kurt Schilling, for example. He was a great baseball. I loved watching him pitch. He was a competitor, but what a douchebag! Like, his take on anything is ridiculous. Or Brett Favre. There's your perfect example of an absolute horrible person.
That's the thing. It's like they covered up a lot of Brett Favre. Yeah. Yeah.
He comes from the poorest state in the United States.
Oh, he's a New Orleans boy. Yeah.
Right. Well, no, because I thought he was from Mississippi.
I thought it was Louisiana.
No, it's Mississippi. Either he's maybe
Well,
he might have
he's
from
like
New
the
Orleans,
Southern
but he
Bayou,
lives
that
in
whole area.
well, he lives in
Yeah,
Mississippi now because what you know what he did, right? Like he took $5 million of
yeah,
welfare money to
yeah,
build facilities for his daughter and himself. It's
yeah.
like you made $100 million at least in salary. God only knows how much more you got in endorsements, and you're now a toady for Trump, and you're stealing $5 million from the poorest of the poor because Mississippi is the poorest in the
Yeah.
country. Like you're taking money from literally the poorest people in the United States and
His
turning it into
okay.
a
Here,
volleyball
hold on.
facility.
Here he was. Okay, so he's 103
Brett
million
Favre is a
dollars.
douchebag.
$103 million. I can't find his. I mean, that just takes 3 seconds. But he's actually lives in, and the place is called Sumrail. It's
Sumrail?
called Sumrail, Mississippi.
I think
Sumrail,
some needs to
Mississippi,
get
right?
railed more.
Yeah.
I didn't say that. I didn't say
But
that.
he's
There's a
sorry, you
PG.
are correct. He's from Gulfport, Mississippi. I for some reason, I mean, it's the Bayou. Like that whole
Well,
area
because I
is
knew because of the
poor.
school he went to
Yeah,
was University of Western Mississippi or something like that. And
yeah.
his daughter was going to go there as well. And say, hey, they need a volleyball facility. Hey, let me hit up these. I've got all these text messages, and then after seeing all the text
And all
messages,
the people
he's like, I
donated
didn't do
money.
anything.
It
And he also
was
says that he
boosters
hasn't done
donating
anything
money to the
wrong.
school. Yeah, boosters
Yeah,
donating money to the school, and then he used it for himself. Yeah,
it's disgusting. Like,
yeah.
and this is why this is, and again, not really sports related, but can be in certain respects. Capitalism doesn't work. It does not work.
the
The United
the
States
best.
has
Yeah,
proven over and over and over again
yeah.
trickle down economic crap doesn't work. You end up with guys like Dan Snyder or the guy from Phoenix, Dolan, who is actually this year. Dolan's actually going to he's selling the team now because of his
Nope.
stupidity for in Phoenix for the last 20 25 years. Yeah,
Are we
he's
talking
so
are we talking
the
the
owner.
Coyotes?
No,
Talking
no,
the
no,
Coyotes? Or are you
no.
talking
For
the
Phoenix
Diamondbacks?
Suns.
Suns.
Phoenix
Oh, the
Suns.
Suns. Oh, no way. Okay.
Remember?
Cool. Cool. Cool.
So basically,
Yeah.
their owner, I think it's Dolan. He was doing the same thing that like Snyder was doing, the same thing that the guy from the wife and the wife from San Diego for baseball. I think anyway. There's all these badass, horrible people running their teams, and he was doing the same thing, making like sexually explicit jokes to
Mhm.
women, talking about how other like being on a public forum. He was on a stage talking about how his guys are getting laid and all this other like weird stuff. And this is what capitalism breeds. It breeds
Mhm.
greedy, stupid people who think they can do anything they want, and they go down to their base, like core of what humans are like, and they take the worst of themselves and bring it out. And I think that's what money keeps doing to these people, and it's disgusting. And thank God it's not as rampant in baseball. I mean, unless you're the Mets,
Well, I mean,
but
baseball did have some owner problems for a little while. I
oh,
mean,
Mark Shots,
I was that was that was
Steinbrenner,
literally the first one that was going to pop onto my
yeah,
head was
they
begins
did.
with an M,
But
rhymes with Ard shot. You know.
giving baseball credit, they actually did something about it.
Oh yeah.
Most other sports
Well,
took forever, and the only reason that anything even happened was because of public pressure through the media. Like Mark Shot,
basketball in a second took care of the old owner of the Clippers.
yep,
When that
that
stuff
was when
came
I
out,
was
they
trying to
were
think
literally
of.
like, boom.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it was the Clippers. Yeah,
It's
and
just
that was like that was everything that he said. Like
he
he didn't
was a
even
terrible
miss
person.
he didn't
No,
even miss any kind of any
no.
kind
See,
of ism. He had them all.
you got that's the thing. You just gotta like. That's why the state's going to have a moral. They're having a moral crisis right now, and they're going to have a civil war. All that kind of stuff is because people just don't know how to be good people anymore. People are just in that country specifically. They're just like me on both sides.
The
I
country
mean,
that we broadcast in.
yeah. Good thing we're from Canada. Well, that's the thing. That's why they always say Canadians do really well in the states as comedians and as newscasters, is because we are on the
Because you
outside
can watch
looking
it
in.
from a outside perspective.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But you look at
Well,
somebody
here
like, oh yeah, we got to do another one.
I was gonna say, speaking of Canada, let's do a little Canadian way, and then we'll come back and at some point hit baseball. But we
Yeah,
don't have to.
we're turning into a sports podcast.
Bum, 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 bum. Well, folks, the fast fashion industry makes up 10% of CO2 emissions, pollutes and dries up water resources. 85% of all textiles end up in the dump each year. Do you want to change those stats and look good while doing it? Then shop the Canadian Way. Clothing created by Canadian Way is made from repurposed, recycled, and or biodegradable materials, manufactured in CO2 neutral sites and by workers who are paid a proper wage, all within this great country of ours. So if you are tired of contributing to the endless supply of garbage produced by humanity, then shop the Canadian Way starting very, very soon. Visit thecanadianway.ca. Boom, boom,
And
boom.
also
There it
for all
is.
you people out there, I'm also taking bookings for voiceover work. So if you're looking for some voiceover,
Taking bookings for voiceover work, political
yeah,
functions, and royal gatherings as well.
yeah, exactly. I'll do the White House dinner next year. I'll make fun of everybody. I don't care. Yeah, just don't be a scumbag politician. That's all I gotta say. Because there's too many.
Just be a scumbag athlete.
Like I said, like I said, at least in Canada and most other countries, people who get elected to office have some semblance of I'm going to be a politician. In the States, it's just like I'm going to make some money. I'm going to make $179,000 a year as a senator, and I'm going to just scream a whole bunch of crap. I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to propose anything to fix anything. I'm just going to say how the other side sucks ass, and that's what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. And people will vote for me because they're too stupid to vote for people who know what they're doing. It's amazing. All I'll say is that the American governmental system, the way it's run by the people that it's run by, it's a direct reflection of the American education system. So, anyway, baseball. So,
Hello, New York.
Well, going forward, we're going to be doing more than just baseball because it's going to be 4 months off in between. So the 40-40 men will discuss other sports. Not intently. Most of our podcasts will still be done for baseball stuff. There's a lot
our knowledge base is predominantly baseball, but we dabble.
Like we can dabble in a bit of hockey, a bit of basketball, do the generalities that we know. But I think things we want to start delving into more are things like
basketball. Is that the one with all the footballs in it?
Yeah. Football? You mean the one where they throw it? The football game where they throw the ball with their hands and don't use their feet barely ever? Yeah.
At least baseball makes sense. There are bases and there are balls. A base and a ball. Baseball.
I don't understand how people call it like soccer. Okay, great. Why? Because you're too stupid to realize that football is used with your feet. Why it's called.
Well, here's the thing. Do you know the reason why? Okay, we're gonna delve out of baseball for 2 seconds. I'm gonna drop a gem on you here. Why is soccer in North America called soccer? Do you know this?
Because you punch people out after you kick the ball.
No. That's sliding into second base. That's sliding in second base in Texas. No. Actually, I gotta bring that one back up again as well. No. So there was always football in England. You use your foot on the ball, but then there was two kinds. There was rugby football and association football. Right. So some people just called it rugby, and some people called it ASOC, and then sock, and then sock, and then soccer. So that's how it was. So association, sock, and soccer. So in England, they still kept that as football, and they changed that to rugby. But then in North America, they kicked on with the association / ASOC / soccer.
I didn't know that.
I got to show you this though. Just when I sort of randomly mentioned the thing, I saw this license plate and it was super, super cool. So talking of Jay's paraphernalia, it is, I don't know if you can actually see it. It is, and it's going to be bat flip, and it's a Jay's license plate, BTFLP. And I'm like, that is freaking awesome. I got to take a photo of that.
It's too bad that Jose Bautista, after 10 years of being with the Jays, is mostly remembered for that. That's the thing he's most remembered for, is flipping his bat after a home run.
But don't get me wrong, that was awesome.
Oh no,
that was awesome.
Epic.
But he's a 50. Speaking of 50 home runs, 54.
54. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's what I mean. Like he did a lot, but that's what everybody remembers him for, and also for being kind of a jerk because of the whole Rougned Odor thing. Which he was kind of a jerk doing that, but so was Rougned Odor.
Rougned Odor was, but that's the thing. It's like okay. So in defense of Jose on this one, if you remember, He popped up, they postured, and then
Yeah,
Raymond
yeah.
punched him. And I bet you Jose would have beat the hell out of him, but everyone already jumped on top of him to stop him from
True.
doing it.
I think he was
So
stunned that it
he
happened.
didn't
That was the other
he
reason.
didn't
Like he
get a
just got
yeah.
delayed. He was like, "What? Did he just fuck?
Yeah.
Ow! That hurts. It hurts my sensibilities." Um.
But
So
yeah,
it just
he got held back.
yeah. So I'm thinking with like going forward, we'll talk baseball. We will talk other sports because I don't think we can do an hour of just baseball every week when you're getting to the dog days of the off season. So one thing I think that needs to be mentioned sports wise that I'm so glad has finally happened that should have happened weeks ago is the entire
Putting a haze around the puck.
no the in Canada hockey has got rid of everybody. They all quit
Yeah,
finally when they should have done
that's
it months ago. I have
months
never
ago.
seen a group of men I think one lady in there who were so clueless as to what was actually going on. It's like they didn't really understand what was happening. They've paid 10 different lawsuits for the same kind of idea and they
Mhm.
didn't mark it in their books the way they should have. Like there was so much wrong with what they did. It basically was like giving these players justified reasons for rape because they know nothing's going to
Yeah.
happen to them. They're not going to get named, and the person who got raped is going to get a few $1,000,000, and they'll probably shut up. One thing I haven't tried yet, I've been meaning to do this, is when this all first came out, and he had about the was it 2019, 2018 team, the one in
18,
London, most
2018.
so there were
2018. Yeah.
apparently eight players involved in that badness.
And you
And
want to find out how many of those are in the NHL right now?
well, no, not well, that too,
Mhm.
but just generally, a lot of those players came out immediately and said, "I was not there. I was not there. I was not there. I was not there." So what? And apparently, like almost the whole team. So what I'm thinking is the ones who didn't put that out are the guilty ones because we still don't know exactly who was guilty. But if you take the 2018 World Junior Championship roster and eliminate all the people who said they weren't there, you're going to get a pretty good indication as to who the people were that are going to get
Yeah.
that were going to get sued,
Well,
right?
one thing
No one's done that.
whenever bad stuff happens in sports in Canada on like a massive level, Canada actually does like an independent inquiry will always happen to
Yeah.
solve this problem. Because remember the Dublin inquiry.
Oh,
If
you
you
can even
remember if
go.
you remember sports,
Yeah.
the Dublin inquiry, and we're the only country like when Ben Johnson got caught for steroids, everybody else was doing it. We knew that
Yeah.
everybody else was doing it, but we
He was a scapegoat.
curtailed ourselves. We took care of ourselves,
Yeah.
and then we didn't win any medals for quite some time because we weeded out who was doing steroids and who was doing this, and we're the only country that did that.
But the only thing that's happening now, and you've noticed, is that this isn't just a Hockey Canada problem. This is a bobsled Canada problem. This is a figure skating
Yep.
Canada problem. This is a problem on many, many,
Well, who
many
is it?
different.
Callie Humphreys, who was essentially like our superstar. She's now a U.S. citizen because she was having a
You couldn't
problem
take it
with
anymore.
Canadian
Yeah.
bobsled. Yeah.
And, well, that's the thing. And then there's many of these sports federations who are just have horrible, horrible things going on within them. Like Hockey Canada is now bringing it out because what it's done is other people and other ones are now bringing stuff out. And again, it's not just in Canada; it's happening in the States about how
Mhm.
they're so poorly trained. Like I'm sorry, it's still that old school mentality of drive them into the ground, make them feel like crap. And they're going to get hardened athletes, and they're going to be able to withstand anything. And people who still don't understand how the human psyche actually works. And they think
Mhm.
scaring people into doing their job is the way you have to do things. And if you don't do that, then you're just not doing your job, and it's not true. So Canada is going to have a reckoning of
Well,
all of their
there's
Hockey
gonna
Canada, whatever. Well, anything that has to do with the Olympic sports, they're going to have a reckoning about the whole thing.
if you want one sport to really 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 delve into any kind of problem they're having with this, specifically college football.
Oh yeah,
And every year they try to do something, every time they try to do something about it, and it's just like there's specifically when you go to like the football states, like
mm-hmm.
your Texases, your Floridas, and stuff like that. Like if there's a some kind of legal problem or any kind of like thing, they'll cover that up because they want that guy to succeed. And it's pretty bad.
Well, that's the thing, and again, it goes back to college athletics in general, which they are starting to change now, allowing players to sell at least their naming rights, right?
Yeah.
So if they want to get people want to buy that guy's jersey, they're going to get paid for that,
Yeah.
which is a great first step. But they
Mhm.
still have to change that culture of like I don't understand how the NCAA can make billions and billions and billions of dollars every year and say that the athletes deserve none of it. It's mind-boggling to me.
Well, it was
Out of touch they are about that kind of stuff.
It was a really good South Park episode. Like Cartman dressed up as like an old time Southern slave owner. He went to the NCAA. It's like, how do you guys do it? How do you guys make money off your slaves? Well, no, they're student athletes. Yeah, but like, how do you make money? Come on, like, just tell me.
It is. That's the thing. Like greed just permeates everything these days, and it's all going to come crashing down. Like I don't think people realize it, but so many existential crises going on right now. The one that did you see the one recently about the happened yesterday? I think at the museum in England, there was one of Van Gogh's flower paintings was up. Like he did a whole bunch of them, right? And then one of them was up in his gallery. It's worth $84.2 million. Okay,
and someone stole it.
Nope.
Please.
They're all the paintings are behind glass, and people threw tomato soup all over it. Because their point was, we're trying to tell you that climate change is causing issues. Or there's 1 billion people being displaced already by climate change. Is going to get worse. Yet you still like goo goo gaga over an $84 million painting that was done 300 years ago, 200 years ago. It's like, where are your priorities? Like, if there's no earth, you're not going to be able to enjoy these paintings. You're not going to be able to enjoy any of this stuff because you're ruining everything that's going to let you enjoy it.
To quote Dennis Leary, in the Thomas Crown Affair, great flick by the way, because he was the cop that got that drew the case, that he's like, and at the end when he's like, well, I mean, if someone says that a couple of swirls of paint are worth this amount of money, whatever, I don't care. It doesn't really affect my job much.
And that's the thing. Everybody thinks too much about it now, like money being human construct and all that stuff. It's just money has been making everything go around, and it's ruining everything. Fossil fuels, all that stuff. Like the reason these kids did this, they were kids too. If you look at the picture, I think they're like 12. Seriously, they look really young. But the reason they did this was because England has approved drilling for more oils in the waters now, offshore drilling for more oil instead of putting money into renewables and stuff. And that's the thing. You wouldn't have all of these inflationary gas bombs if everything was renewable energy, you morons. But anyway.
Hey,
so
we got 2 minutes left.
Cool. So next week, Greg and I are going to come up with our 5 players each of who we think
and any stage of the
anybody in the organization,
any stage of the organization. Yeah, it doesn't have to be AAA. It can be double.
It could be a
single,
rookie ball.
It can be
whatever it takes.
Dominican
it doesn't
League.
matter who the 5. Because like I mentioned, it should be present or future. How they can have the present or the future.
Yeah.
So, like I said, Ricky Tiedemann was an easy one to choose as an example. But when you start breaking down, you can go to Zulueta, hopefully, who could be a high leverage power arm coming out of the bullpen, because he almost made it this year. I don't know why they didn't bring him up at least for a cup of coffee. I was really surprised they didn't do that. But I think
with the amount of damage that we did, like with the amount of damage that was done to the bullpen, just in terms of ERA, like why not give a kid a shot?
We guess. So next week we're going to discuss those 5 each. Some of the players might be the same. We don't know because we're not going to share the information with each other. And we're going to hopefully tell you guys what we think the direction the team needs, manager wise, management, players, all that stuff. Because something needs to change, and it needs to change big time this year. The time is done for waiting and seeing how people do. It's time. So, thanks for watching the 40/40, man. As my friend told us, we need better intros and outros. So we're going to try and make our intros and outros better. Thank you for listening to us or watching us, even with my pasty face. This terrible lighted area. Subscribe. Yes, subscribe or watch us on YouTube or listen to Spotify, iHeart, iTunes, wherever you find your podcast, we will be there. So you don't have to look at our ugly mugs. You can just listen to our wonderful voices. Yeah.
All right, kids. Peace.
Have fun not being here.
Go Guardians.